So what are some of the surprises amongst the foreign players so far in the KBO season?
Well, Socrates Brito and Kevin Crone have gotten going in May. And that is a really, Kevin struggled in Japan last year. Socrates has struggled ever since the suspension. Sometimes a change of scenery is exactly what these guys need. And that is really good to see. I had seen both of those guys really do well, but actually both with the same ball club in Reno. I would say, I don't know if they're surprising in the sense that they're capable of doing it, but it's surprising to see it kind of just blossom the way it has these past few weeks.
There's no question about their performance in the month of May. Do you expect them to be at this level, at least close to it, for the remainder of the season?
I think it's obviously somewhere in between, and I'd like to err on the side of it being closer to May than April. Right now Kia is surprising everyone with their offense. We talked about how their offense wasn't going to produce. Their offense wasn't going to produce. They had good pitching, and it's been kind of the opposite, where, the pitching hasn't been bad. The defense has struggled. Kia, it's hard to imagine that, Ryu Ji-hyuk and Kim Sun-bin and Park Dong-won are all going to play like they played 4 or 5 years ago, and Socrates Brito. It's like I'm watching 2017 all over again. So it's a little bit hard to imagine that they're going to continue on this path of really being an explosive offense. But I think that they'll be productive again. And with Kevin Crone, he's got a lot of protection around him. That's a pretty good lineup. And Han Yu-sum's got to stay healthy. Chu Shin-su's not young anymore, but they've got a really good lineup. So there's more things working in Kevin Crone's favor.
Okay. What about Charlie Barnes? He's been one of the best pitchers, especially in the month of April.
He's been outstanding, and I want to give a little bit of credit to somebody that contacted me before we went out, which was Ricky Meinhold. But we talked about the need to throw strikes, and that whole Lotte team he established the importance of that pitching staff throwing strikes. And I know that the expanded strike zone helps. He's been the first pitcher that I've seen come in there in a long time and really show command. And the expanded strike zone helps guys with command even more than it helps guys with good stuff. Charlie Barnes' stuff is not anything spectacular, but we saw it with Eric Jokic. We've seen it time and time again, even back to when I played with Ben Jukic. These guys that are left-handers, they don't have outstanding stuff, but they can fill up the strike zone, change speeds, and locate. They tend to have long-term success. There are some peaks and valleys. Assuming the shortened rest doesn't catch up to his command throughout the course of the season, there's nothing else that really leads you to believe that it's not real. It looks very, very real.
Have you seen the heightened fence at Sajik Stadium? I'm sure you'd have loved to have had that fence behind you when you were with Lotte.
Yeah, it's Lotte pitching in Sajik Stadium is an electric atmosphere. I'm sure raising the fences a little bit, it makes the game feel a little funny because you're seeing these balls go off a chain link fence. I'm sure the outfielders hate it, but I think that anytime you're pitching in Sajik, in that atmosphere, it's an extreme home field advantage. I know Lotte hasn't played well at home, but obviously Charlie Barnes and those pitchers have fed off of those fans.
What about Glenn Sparkman? He's been off to a pretty slow start. Very eventful month and a half for him. What's your assessment on his performance so far?
He needs to pitch better, but you're talking to a guy that went 0-3 with a 6.25 ERA in his first 5 starts in the KBO and never won a game in April. Right. And pitched 3 years in the KBO. Right. Glenn Sparkman, he needs to pitch better. He may be learning. He's not, I always tell guys, keep your head above water while you figure it out. And then, you got to start swimming. And now he's got to start swimming. His head's above water, but if he doesn't start swimming, he's going to, be on a plane.
I think one thing that I noticed with Sparkman is that he's basically a 2-pitch pitcher. I know that he shows changeup time to time and slow curveball, but do you think that he's with his fastball and slider combination, do you think that's enough for him to have some success at KBO?
His stuff has backed up. That's the true, honest assessment. I saw him with Kansas City in 2017 to 2019. Prior to the pandemic, and this stuff's not the same. He's had quite a few injuries. And, you know, I could say that, but Andy Van Hecken was 141 to 145 with a splitter. And it was more than enough for the KBO for, it felt like a decade.
Right.
So I don't like to kind of pigeonhole a 2-pitch guy. If it's good enough, it's good enough. And maybe with Glenn, it would have been good enough, but now he's got to probably get a little bit more creative.
2 new pitchers with Kia. What was your first impressions on them?
I had seen Sean Nolan pitch a lot, and you know there are going to be struggles there. It looks like he has a tough time adapting a little bit on the field. You know, obviously getting hit with a line drive on opening day doesn't help anything. But he's got to adapt a little bit better and probably make some adjustments. But you know, it's another one of those guys. His head's above water and it's time to swim. And then, you know, Ronnie Williams is one of those kind of early arrivals to the KBO.
Right.
I think he probably got there a year or two before I would have anticipated him get there, but the stuff is there. It's just a matter of, I mean, we saw it already. He laid an egg one start. You know, just was terrible one start. And then he looked really good in some other starts. And that consistency is tough not to have in the KBO as a foreigner. So if he can mature, the stuff is there. He's just got to continue to throw strikes. He's got to continue to put pressure on the offense because he's got a really good arm.
This